So let's talk about the North Pine Tungsten and Antimony project located in Idaho, USA. So if you take a look at the map on the right-hand side, our tenements, our claims here are the blue areas. The whole area we refer to as North Pine, and North Pine consists of 3 different prospects. Those prospects being the Northman prospect, the Silver Cliffs prospect, and the Springfield prospect as well. On this map here, you can see how close we are to Perpetua Resources. As I said earlier, Perpetua Resources has a market cap of $2.2 billion, and their primary project is the Stibnite Gold Project, which is based off the historic Yellow Pine mine. They have 6 million ounces of gold there and a significant antimony resource as well. Quite low grade, but a very large project. And then next to them, we have the Horse Heaven Antimony Project, a Resolution Minerals. You can see the proximity of our Silver Cliffs prospect to the Golden Gate targets here. Some absolutely fantastic drill intercepts recently by Resolution at those targets and targeting a fault zone, which we interpret to run down onto our ground here at Silver Cliffs as well, which is why we pegged it. Today, though, we're mostly going to be focusing on Springfield prospect. This is where we have an absolutely stellar tungsten, gold, and potentially antimony project, but definitely tungsten and gold at this point, and that's going to be the main focus of this part of the presentation. So we are in an absolutely tier 1 location for ore bodies and discovery. As I said, the Yellow Pine mine was the US's largest producing antimony and tungsten mine ever. And so that's the caliber of, I guess, ore deposit that we are looking for. At the Springfield deposit itself, there is a historic mine, which was called the Springfield Mine, that historically produced in the 50s at the same time as Yellow Pine was producing. That produced 39,000 tons at 0.35 to 0.4% tungsten. And that was mined by Bradley Mining Co. So we know there is a small deposit sitting there so far. It doesn't have any JORC compliant resource or any numbers that we can talk about at the moment. The work that was done on the old historic mine was done back in the 50s, and it's very limited, which we'll go into in more detail very, very shortly, but it's a very exciting opportunity, and stick with me to hear more. Now, just to talk a little bit about the geology quickly and what we're looking at here. The critical to geological units that we're looking at here are the Idaho batholith, which is, you can see here is this large green unit on the map. This is the metal-rich granite, which is the source for all of the metals and the ore bodies here in the area. The other very important group here is what's called the Windermere supergroup, and these are sedimentary rocks, limestones, quartzites, things like this that were here in place when the Idaho batholith intruded. So you had these sedimentary layers in place. It was intruded by this metal-rich granite, and then the fluids from that metal-rich granite, where it's run along faults or being remobilized, comes into contact with the Windermere supergroup. And the Windermere supergroup often makes a trap, a chemical trap and physical trap for those metal-rich fluids, and that's where we find our ore deposits. So that is the critical interaction here in the area when it comes to sort of ore bodies, and we'll talk more about it as we go. Now, at the end of last year, just before the snows hit, we hit the ground at North Pine and did a pretty thorough investigation of the Springfield prospect, the historic mine there, and the surrounding area. We took, I believe it was 69 different rock chip samples from that whole area, both from around the mine, proximal to the mine, on top of the mine, downstream from the mine, adjacent to the mine, really just trying to get a good idea of is the historic reporting of the grades and the style of mineralization correct? What sort of rocks and geologies are we looking at? Is the interpretation of the system correct? Etc., etc. We really wanted to get quite a good idea of potentially what we're looking at here as far as what mineralization was at the surface. And I'm very happy to say that the results were absolutely fantastic. So we had a lot of really quite high grade tungsten samples returned. To give you an idea of what's high grade for tungsten, Most tungsten deposits in the world will have a bottom cutoff for their resource at 0.1%. If the bottom cutoff for your resource is 0.3%, then it's generally going to be a higher grade style of deposit, with 0.3 being the bottom cutoff, right? So the bottom cutoff, a very rough idea of what could potentially be economic when we're talking about calculating resources and so forth. So if we go through our results and what we found, 0.64% tungsten, 2.98% tungsten, 0.66% tungsten, 0.4% tungsten, 0.93% tungsten, 0.83% tungsten, 0.96% tungsten, 0.5, 0.51, 0.62, 0.51, 0.48, 1%, and 0.66. Now, very good grades of tungsten in the form of scheelite. Scheelite is the primary tungsten mineral that we have. And we know that because if you look at the picture here on the screen, which shows the glowy bits of the rocks, well, the glowy bits of the rocks are the scheelite. So when you put a shortwave UV light onto rocks and scheelite, it will glow like it glows in these images. So very quick way of identifying if you have scheelite present or not. And the picture next to it gives you an idea of the type of mineralization and where that scheelite is hosted. And what you can see here is you can see this massive sort of golden, shiny, yellow material here in this rock. And also, the sort of reds brown, this is a lot of iron. But this material here, this is pyrrhotite, which is iron sulfur sulfide. And we very much find the scheelite associated with this style of massive pyrrhotite. So we have massive sulfides here and scheelite present as well. It's a very exciting type of mineralization because it responds really quite well to geophysics, and it's quite easy to understand as well. So really quite exceptional results. Probably the most surprising thing that came out of the program, however, is that we really did have quite significant gold here as well. Now, gold has never been really mentioned or followed up or explored for at Springfield or as a part of the tungsten system at all. And so to get the gold results come back that we had, they are just really quite excellent. And it really opens up what we can potentially be looking at here at Springfield, because in my mind at the moment, we're definitely looking at a tungsten and gold project. So just a few of the samples came back really quite exceptional. So for example, sample 48 came back at 7.75 grams per ton gold. Absolutely fantastic. Another one at 1.5% here. We do have this one at 4.47. That was a pan sample that was taken out of one of the nearby creeks. So that's natural that that's going to be a bit higher. But what is probably important is that there were quite a few samples as well, that came back at 0.2, 0.3 grams per ton. And there's a different geochemical association between the tungsten and the gold, right? So what we're looking at here is we're looking at potentially either one system with that's been overprinted by a secondary system, or perhaps the Springfield tungsten deposit is a part of a much larger system overall. First time anyone's explored here for gold, and we've got really strong gold here so far, and so I'm quite excited to see what's going to come next as well. Little credits of copper as well. That copper is really just associated with chalcopyrite, which is found within the pyrrhotite mix. So that's sort of the style of mineralization that we're looking at so far. Very happy with the grades that have come back because they align with the historic reporting. They sort of align with what's generally thought to be economic grades of tungsten, and it's given us a much better understanding of the style of mineralization, but also really given us a big clue and got us quite excited about the potential for some significant gold here associated with the tungsten as well, which is great. So you can see once again on this slide, we've got sample 28 just shows that massive pyrrhotite and a high grade tungsten in that sample. To give you an idea, sample 28, 0.96% tungsten associated with, you can see where we took the sample from here, from that massive sulfide. And then below we can see sample 48, which returns 7.75 grams per ton. This is a quartz vein within a granitic rock, which has got mass sulfides in it, sitting on top of the actual the deposit itself in the south here. You can see where it is. So really high grade gold within a quartz vein, you know, away from where anything was mined in the past. Really quite good. You can see the distribution here of the rock chip samples and where the grades came from. And the good thing here is that what you can see is that we don't just have one central cluster of sort of high grade tungsten or anything like that. The high grade tungsten is really quite widely distributed across the general area as well. So that's really quite exciting. We do find a bit of a relationship where the gold at the moment seems to be sitting on the edges of where we find the high grade tungsten, which is again to just another indication that there's a broader gold system here. And then sitting within that is the tungsten. So we've just completed the magnetic survey. That data is currently being processed and in our hands very shortly after geophysical interpretation by our geophysicists. That's really going to help us define drill targets for where we need to go here. We are confident about the grades and the style of the mineralization already. We just need to refine our targets so we know where to hit and to deliver the absolute best results. Now, the good thing about the pyrrhotite, this sulfide that you can see here on the left, is that it's magnetic as well. All right, so we know we have a strongly magnetic abundance of sulfide here in the area associated with the scheelite mineralization, and then we have, you know, quite good grades of tungsten found within the rock chips as well. So quite an exciting time as well. And this gold project, this gold side of the story, you just never know where that's going to end up. It's really quite exciting. So that's where Springfield is at the moment. That's really going to be our main focus at the moment. I think we have some absolutely fantastic targets which should be coming up in the next few weeks that we want to pursue and drill. And I think it's going to be an exciting time, 2026 at North Pine.